The Cleveland Museum of Art was established in 1916, bringing the opportunity to show and educate the world on art for more than 100 years. With more than 45,000 objects in its collection and spanning over 6,000 years of growth and accomplishment, we will be focusing on the holdings of the 20th century Western European art and its association with the Modernism movement. Fauvism is the stylistic movement of Les Fauves, a group of 20th century modern artists emphasizing painterly qualities and strong color choice with an exaggeration of representation over realism. We can see the expressive painterly qualities of Fauvism by observing André Durand's The Houses of Parliament from Westminster Bridge. We can see how the use of the colors red and yellow to depict Parliament shows form and shapes by the use of texture and paint strokes. But this lacks the depth of space, allowing the viewer to connect to the dots themselves and to use their own imagination to place this in a three-dimensional space. Cubism was created through the use of geometric shapes and color to depict figures and objects, breaking down forms to their fundamental shape. This creates paintings that are abstract in nature and creates a fragmented observation. This technique was made popular by the artist Pablo Picasso. The stylized approaches can be seen in the use of shapes to portray form and the use of colors in the bull skull fruit picture painting and the bottle of Mark on the table painting. Both artists use abstract shapes and color forms to complete the picture and emphasize on representation instead of realness. German Expressionism was a movement that emphasized on the inner feelings and ideas of the artist instead of portraying the subject matter in a realistic view. This form of expressionism is seen through simplified shapes and bright colors and the way the artist uses their brushes to create marks and brush strokes portraying feelings. Subgroups of the German Expressionism was able to develop their own unique styles and characteristics. Observing Monter in the painting Future allows breakaway from the realistic art form and allows the painter to focus on a more simplistic simplification of subject, form, and color. Although this is part of the German Expressionism, it is vastly different than Durand's Wrestlers in a Circus. Both using color and form to express feeling behind their paintings, the Wrestlers in a Circus have a more exaggerated brush strokes, and the use of color for outline and highlight brings more emotion into the painting and a sense of movement through the hard brush strokes and the lack of blending, leaving its distinction between the colors. Futurism was a movement that originated in Italy. It is emphasized as art that was designed from a social-political standpoint. This socio-political standpoint was used as propaganda against the violence of the youth as the industrialization of the world continued to grow at an accelerated rate. This is seen through depictions of cars and airplanes in the futuristic movement, as well as the brushstrokes and markings in artwork that was high-paced, fast, with quick marks. The Dada art movement was formed during the First World War as a negative reaction to the horrors of war. The subject matter that is depicted during this art movement are used often in satirical and nonsensical natures. This rejection of the war allowed the artists to protest from their own viewpoints and allowed the viewers to attach themselves to the artwork in a strong manner. This can be seen by examining Man Ray's sculpture, The Gift. You can see them push into satire by taking a useful item such as a hand iron and exaggerating it to where it is no longer useful. This feeling brought forth by the artist aligns with their belief that no matter how good of an outcome war has, it never does as it is intended purpose, leaving behind destruction in its path. No matter what the victory may be, it is not the designed purpose. Der style is a Dutch movement that is similar to Cubism. They advocated abstraction of the form and shape to be a universal idea across all media, including paint and architecture. This stylized movement focused on the essentials of form and color and the simplification of vertical and horizontal lines, predominantly using black, white, and the primary colors. In the painting composition with red, yellow, and blue, you can see the simplification of the subject to just color and lines to create form. This simplification of the subject matter brings forth the question of what is composition, and it invokes the viewer to ask themselves the same question and to define themselves what makes the subject a composition. Constructivism was brought forth from the idea of abstraction and the constructivist view that reflected the modern industrialization of society and its spaces. The simplification of what is needed and what is not needed drove this movement into the questions that brought forth of what it is and what it means to the world. This reflection on the modern world was put into the artwork and seen as an oversimplification in the representations of its subject's matter. In the photograph depicted at the telephone, uses the oversimplification of the changing perspective to add interest to the subject matter. Observing the individual on the phone by looking down on them asks the viewers to ponder the importance of the phone call, while giving an aesthetically pleasing view of the form and the foreshortening of the body. The Bauhaus artistic movement features geometric shapes such as rectangles and spheres to depict form and subjects without elaborating on details to add to the piece of art. This is seen in the simplification of the forms, allowing the illusion of what the objects are. This is seen such as buildings being depicted as basic rectangular shapes that are flat. This also can be seen in furniture and architecture of that time by the use of chrome and pipes that curve at the corner instead of a 90-degree angle. Looking at Kandinsky's Small World, this movement can be seen in the simplification of the spherical shape that represents the cosmos and the exploration of them. This is done through the form and colors that allowed him to experiment during this time. Surrealism is an artistic movement made popular by Salvador Dali. Surrealism is seen in both art and literature, and it releases the creative potential of what is considered the unconscious mind and the irrational juxtaposition of the images it creates, taking real-life objects, moments, and feelings and exaggerating them by observing them in a dreamlike setting with no set rules or boundaries that the subject has to follow. Observing this unlimited potential, the surrealistic movement allowed the unlimited possibilities between its subjects and its surroundings and the way they interacted with each other. Salvador Dali was able to use the surrealistic movement in his depiction of the dream by creating an environment that can be let loose and live by itself. This disillusion of environment allows the artwork to depict feelings and emotions to the viewers that they themselves cannot verbally express. This disconnect allows them to both feel the painting and at the same time not feel it. A subconscious understanding and connection between what we know and what we don't know. There's a new exhibit at the museum today. Let's go ahead and check it out. Welcome to the gallery Artists and Their Emotions. The unifying theme that this gallery is curated on is how artists are using their artwork to help them propel themselves through their emotions. This will be discussed through the color and subject matter exhibited in the artwork and the techniques they use to achieve these effects. Presented on our walls are 5 paintings that are brought to us from the 20th century Western European art collection at the Cleveland Museum of Art, focusing on the different modernism movements of the time. First, we have Pablo Picasso's painting Bull Skull, Fruit, Picture. This was created in 1939 as an oil on canvas painting that is measured at 33 3/4 inches by 46 1/8 inches in the stylistic movement of Cubism. This is located at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Gallery 223, the 20th Century Avant-Garde, with the accession number of 1985.57. Second, we have Shining Satine and their painting Still Life with Rayfish. This was painted in 1923 as oil on canvas in the stylistic movement of Expressionism. This painting is measured at 44 inches by 37 1/8 inches. This is located at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Gallery 223, 20th Century Avant-Garde, with the accession number of 1951.357. Next, there is Max Beckham's oil on canvas painting Perseus's Last Duty. This was created in 1949 and is measuring at 49 3/16 inches by 70 1/4 inches in the stylistic movement of German Expressionism. This is located at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Gallery 225, German Expressionism and Surrealism, with the accession number of 2013.7. Then, Andre Derain created the House of Parliament from Westminster Bridge in 1906 as an oil painting on stretched canvas measuring at 41 3/4 inches by 49 inches as part of the stylistic movement of Fauvism. This is located at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Gallery 223, the 20th Century Avant-Garde, with the accession number of 1983.67. And our final art piece in our gallery is The Dream, an oil and canvas painting created in 1931 by Salvador Dali. This painting measures at 47 1/4 inches by 47 1/4 inches and it is painted in the stylistic movement of Surrealism. This is located at the Cleveland Museum of Art in Gallery 225, German Expressionism and Surrealism, with the accession number 2001.34. All of these works were created by their artists through a significant emotional event or created with a specific emotional intention. The observation of emotional expression can be seen through the color choices and the brushstrokes seen in the House of Parliament from Westminster Bridge, painted by Andre Derain. He was able to express the feelings of freedom and liberation through the fast brushstrokes that favored the form of shape and of composition instead of the accuracy of a realistic viewpoint. The expressionistic approach allowed the freedom to not worry about mistakes or color choices. This shows the joy and freedom expressed with the bright yellows and red that are almost like a fire burning anew. The use of Fauvism to charge the mark-making technique and to embed the artwork with a young, carefree attitude that allows this emotional freedom to be expressed and the experimentation of this technique to take root. This freedom that was expressed through Fauvism in the Houses of Parliament from Westminster Bridge can be seen in Salvador Dali's surrealistic painting, The Dream. The large open dreamscape provides a visual representation of the unconscious and subconscious mind. The freedom Dali was able to portray came down to the fundamental basics of the human condition. Their ability to convey these human emotions and experiences allows the artist to unite the viewers throughout time and social classes. The emotional experiences that we are observing through this painting begins with the foundational question of what if. This what if is Dali's ultimate question. He applied it throughout the entire painting. This can be observed in the representation of anxiety and confusion that the figure with the sealed mouth has in the front of the painting. This is the uncontrollable ache that all mankind experiences at one point or another in their lives. The use of symbolism is prominent throughout the painting, and the ability for everyone to understand it allows a cohesive unity to the experience and its emotions that allows us to connect on a deeper level. Pablo Picasso was no stranger to unifying emotions with the viewers. In his painting, Bull Skull, Fruit, Picture, he was able to use cubism to convey the emotional turmoil that he was going through and use it as a crutch and band-aid to help him to understand the fall of his home Barcelona and the death of his mother. The crisp, angular shapes of his forms and the cool tones that he used in the painting are able to invoke his pain and sadness for the tragedies he was experiencing in life. The depressive tone of the painting allows him to express what he is feeling at a vulnerable level that at times can be hard to speak. He was able to use the skull in his painting to starkly point to the death in his life and the stripping away of the essence of who and what he stands for. The bare bones of the skull revealing that at the core he has nothing that once defined who he was. Though the symbolism that is shared is depressive, the use of the growing and budding tree in the background broke free from the dark and decaying world he lived in and showed hope. A hope that a future was growing from the darkness and promised that tomorrow a new day would blossom, as does the oak tree pushes onward and blossoms to the new day sun. With the promise of hope, it is easy to understand that through darkness there will still be a chance to prevail. This is important to keep in mind when examining the raw emotions that people experience at their darkest moments. Max Beckmann created his painting Perseus' Last Duty at his darkest point in his life, while on the run from the persecution he faced through the Nazis following the war. The German expressionistic painting transformed the Greek tragedy and paralleled it to his life and experiences. The quick movements in his brushstrokes to convey the anger he felt from the war was executed through his use of outlining his figures and blocking out his color choices. The alternative ending to the original Greek story allowed Beckmann to express his strong negative emotions to war and mankind's ability to cause destruction. Instead of portraying the scene as the triumph of the defeating of Medusa and the beheading of her, our protagonist is seen demasculinized, dressed in female clothes to reduce the objectification of military heroes, as he is seen slaughtering the harem of onlookers and standing in the pool of their blood. The hatred he is feeling is being thrust into every brushstroke as he criticizes the human experience and lets the emotions be left to fill the void by mankind's destruction, showing his inner feelings of loss that is inside him from scraping to survive after the war. Our final painting in our experience of artist's emotions is Still Life with Rayfish by Shaim Satin, an expressionistic painting that Satin used to move through his emotional experiences of growing up poor and disadvantaged. Taking this painful experience of growing up with nothing and the hardships that he endured because of this can be seen in all of their brushstrokes upon the canvas. The harsh lines and colors used to create the stingray shows a real pain, and the almost humanistic face depicted as almost crying out from the torture that is being inflicted upon it, from being strung up on 2 points and disemboweled, almost a crucifixion of the stingray. Satin was trying to portray the disdain of the human experience and fill every inch of the painting with these feelings of loss and suffering. This was executed with the use of the color palette and the tonal values of the painting that were used to keep it in a lower tone range, keeping it on the mid to low tone of the color expression. The experimentation that was used to arrive at this painting allowed the artists themselves to dive deep into their experiences and understand what they have gone through. As with all of the paintings that we have observed in this gallery, the artists are able to take their own experiences of emotion, may they be for better or for worse, and work through their understanding using their artwork. The stylistic movement themselves will vary throughout time, as we have seen in the gallery, but they will continue to unify humankind to a singular experience. Emotions. Emotions are what connects everyone on the planet. Though emotions are not a visual experience, artists are able to control mediums and pigments to allow viewers to open themselves and understand at a fractional level what we as a whole go through. Thought-provoking and conversation starters, these artists that we have seen here have not only propelled themselves through their emotions of freedom and joy, but helped push viewers themselves through the raw darkness that can be seen in the world and allowed us to share the experiences together, leaving us with a singular experience that is woven together like a fabric, creating a knot that connects all strings of mankind together.